A lot of my neighbors have built these underground things in their garage, but I don't know if I want to do that.
We don't go underground
Yeah,
Not in
not
Florida, no.
voluntarily.
unless we want to go swimming.
Yeah, your water level there is too high.
Chris, I really liked the show on Sunday. That was a great show.
Oh, hi, Chris.
Yeah, it was a good show on Sunday.
Yes,
Thanks.
I learned some things.
Yeah, it was
I'll be
good.
putting them to practice today.
Yeah, good. Well, and I learned some things, and that's always the point to me. My main passion is learning, and as you know, Ron, the best way to learn is to teach. So
That's
when I
right.
come up with a subject, I do research and I learn new things. So
Yeah,
good stuff. And we will be putting those new things to use in our next trip,
yeah.
going to Italy next week.
Cool.
And yeah, need to catch up on some sleep.
But, I used to teach about local SIM. Actually, a whole presentation on buying local SIM cards. And on the other hand, I've been teaching two-factor authentication. And that's when in your show I said, no. You don't want to change your numbers because then you can't get into your accounts, right? If you have all your two-factor set on. So that's a problem.
And that's where Google Voice comes in real handy. I have the same number regardless of what phone is in my hand.
Yeah. Chris Rosinski, welcome, Chris, my friend.
Good morning. I just caught the beginning of the Chris's show.
You're breaking up.
I am?
Yeah.
All right, I'll get back on another thing and be back in a minute.
No,
Okay?
you're good now.
Is it all right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be okay now.
Okay. I have an addition to something that Chris mentioned on her show yesterday, because we've been using wireless communications for our internet connection for years. And there's a little more to putting it in airplane mode and some advantages here that weren't mentioned. One of the things you put in airplane is to reconnect, and it reconnects you. But when here's the deal: when it reconnects you, it puts you in. Let's see. Hang on just a minute. I got something going on here. Okay, here we go. It reconnects you at a speed, and so that when you see the three bars, it just tells you how good the connection is. No, excuse me, how good the connection is, but not how fast it is. So when as I understand it from a couple of people who are in the know, when you reconnect, it connects you at the highest possible speed. And if you don't use it for a particular period of time, it throttles you down to a lower speed connection. So when for example, just because you got those bars up there doesn't mean you have the highest speed connection you can get. So if all of a sudden you want to transmit a lot of videos and things up to your internet somewhere, where you're saving it, you need to reconnect, because what it does is when you go on, it assigns you something they called Welch points, and those Welch points determine how fast the connection you're going to get off the tower. It also works on the Wi-Fi enterprise access points the same way. If you're just accessing it, it assigns you a category of speed, and that speed stays there until you don't use it a bit, because you pause, or you're not transmitting, and then it throttles you down, and it stays there. The only way you can get it back onto the high speed again is to reconnect onto airplane mode and then start immediately transmitting, and you get much higher speed. So that's a little additive to the bars, because the bars are relatively meaningless except to tell you what the strength of the signal is. That's my 2 cents worth.
Thanks, Chris. Good point. Yep, good point.
Chris, thank you for that nice email about music. I was just blown away at how important music is in your life. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Well, I joined a
Miss
bunch of.
Will, did you cover Wi-Fi calling yesterday as well? I missed your program. that's a feature too. That's some cell phones and some providers allow you to do Wi-Fi calling.
Right. We did not cover that.
Yep.
Go ahead, Steve.
I got a question for Dewey. Can you get HDR video through an HDMI port? Or is it just through the display port?
A question for me?
Yeah.
That's
You-
something I just can't answer now without researching it. Remember, my strong suit is researching stuff. I don't, at my age, it's a problem retaining all the information. So state your question again and I'll look in.
Yeah. Well, one thing I found with the symbols was one of them said if it had the DP beside the USB-C port, it meant it had the display port alternate mode capability. And then the other one said that it had the SS beside it. It was the super speed one, and you could use that for charging, but it wouldn't have the display port. Well, I looked at the really small one on mine. I had to use my phone to actually blow it up so I could actually see what, and it actually has the SS with the DB or DP beside it. So I'm assuming that means that it's got both of them. But I was just wondering whether I'd be better off using that instead of the HDMI cable to the monitor screen to get
Well, I
the
recall making a
HDR.
statement that that Thunderbolt 4 cable is best overall. I don't know if that'll help answer your question.
Well, what I was wanting to know is, would it be better off to use the display port with the cable or to use the HDMI cable?
That's something I guess I just don't have enough experience to answer. I guess I'd try them out and see which one worked the best.
If you have both, I'd try each one.
I
Test
bet
it.
you George is probably going to tell us the answer. But I would suspect Steve is probably the display port because you'll get a faster connection. I think that's the answer.
Yeah.
Use the display port.
Well, it would be nice if the HDMI cable and port had the HDR capability because it's a much solider connection than the tiny little USB-C thing, which
Right.
can quite easily get knocked out.
George, go ahead.
Muted.
Unmute.
So, so you know, Ron, that Shaw is being bought out by Rogers here.
I do.
And I'm wondering if other people in the audience have suffered the change from having their internet and email provided by one company and having it switched to another. I know we've gone through that once already in the last couple of years with TELUS.
Mhm.
Everybody kept their TELUS.net, even though it's being served under Google Suite servers. And I also know Insteon suddenly pulled the plug on all those people who had their IoT devices, right? All their servers disappeared quickly. I don't know if you covered that last week or not.
I don't think we talked about that. That will be now. I think it's going to be a long time in the coming. I was talking to I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, but I think that for many of you who don't know, really Western Canada is serviced by one cable provider, and that is Shaw Communications, and that is the cable provider that you have, and they're giving good service. I don't have any problem with that, but they're being bought out by the other side of the country, which is Rogers, right? And there's this, and so there's going to be this big amalgamation, and then all those people. I never had a Shaw.ca email address, so all those people.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
A lot of people had Shaw email addresses, and of course that may or may not change with the purchase of the new, when this all gets jumbled up. I don't know. I have a Gmail address. I got caught with that in the very, very early stages, and I just have always had a Gmail address, so it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Most of our members actually in our computer club, we have about 140 members in our computer club, And the largest single email address is our Shaw addresses.
Right.
So it's pretty dominant. Shaw was very early into Victoria, and it took TELUS a while to get in here. So we have some TELUSes, but you know, and I've been trying to encourage people to go to a email provider that's separate from their
Right.
internet service provider.
The other
They're
huge,
reluctant, and
they're reluctant. The other thing, George, that you have to remember, and I just tell everyone this, as you know, I spent half my life, well, no, the last 10 years down in Mesa, Arizona. And if you, and I did tech support there for 10 years, and Shaw and TELUS email addresses often got blocked by the, you know, ISPs coming down into the US, down to the US. Gmail was fine, of course, but that it was always a problem. Each year we got the, you know, in October we got all sorts of complaints, people coming in, tech support, you know, I'm not getting my email, right? And it was usually a Shaw or TELUS account, and they got blocked. As so once you travel, and if you're traveling internationally or you're doing any travel between countries, get a Gmail address, because you are going to be into big problems if you have a local ISP address.
Well, those people with Android phones, it makes sense that they go towards a Gmail address. Those people who have iPhones, you know, they could get the Apple.
Yeah, Apple's fine. Yeah, Apple will work.
And
Yeah, that's
those
fine.
people who are heavily into OneDrive might want to go with the Microsoft.
Microsoft's fine too, but to have a local ISP is
it's not a good idea,
because these companies, you know, they block the, you know, they don't know who shaw.ca coming in is, and they'll block those, and it was always a hassle. Every year people got so frustrated with it. So, you know, you're right, Apple, Outlook, Gmail, those are all do well with traveling, but not local. Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm piping in on this idea about emails with the ISP. I've always been against it. Big reason, if you live in an area that has multiple ISPs that you can take advantage of, a lot of people change their services.
That's right.
It's a big hassle switching the things over.
Yep.
I prefer non-ISP email addresses. That way, I don't worry about the mergers. I don't worry about takeovers. I don't worry about them going out of business. Whatever the case may be, and I want to change service providers, I don't have the headache of contacting everybody who gets my ISP emails.
Right.
And try and tell them, I want to change my address to the following. Well, if you don't go with the ISP's email, you don't have that hassle.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with you, Tim. And it's even more important if you travel. Absolutely 100%. Jim, go ahead.
Well, I've been recommending that people use anything but their ISP address for years.
Mhm.
But the problem is particularly with senior clubs, excuse me, that convincing them to make the change is really hard because the company sets it up for them. So they're already set up and they've already started using it. So trying to get them to move or add a separate account has always been a real challenge.
It has. Yes, it has. And of course, people, as we get older, we don't like change, right? So we don't like to, you know, if you're 20 years old, it doesn't matter. You can easily flip over and use another email address. You probably got 3 or 4, you know, and it's not that, but older people don't like change. So you're right. It is a problem. That is a for sure. But please, if you plan on traveling, you know, get a Gmail address or Apple or Outlook. It doesn't really matter, but just stay away from your local.
How about Proton Mail?
Yeah, you can use Proton Mail.
Anything that's not an ISP, because ISP means you're dedicated.
Dedicated. You sold your soul.
And if you happen to move, you need to get different ISP. Well, there goes your email address.
Right. George, go ahead.
For the biggest flexibility, but it'll cost you some money. You could keep your own domain name for an email address.
Yeah, you could have your own domain.
Then you can redirect to any other service provider.
Yeah.
At your choice,
at
your whim. But it costs money to a little bit of money anyway.
Yeah, I've had Hewie at Hewie.net since 1995.
So what does it cost you for that?
You know what? I'd have to look that up. I don't know. I just that's part of my living expense.
Yeah.
So I got into trouble a couple of years ago. I made the big announcement. I bought my grandson his own domain. Bought it on GoDaddy. I was listening to Leo Laporte, and one of the things they talked about is everyone should have their own domain name when they're young, because when you get older, then you got it, right? So I said to him, I made the big announcement. I said I bought him his own domain name, and I bought him a present, right? Well, at 4 years old, you think a present is something, that you're gonna have, right? He didn't understand what I bought him, right? So he was in tears, like I'm telling him this. Where's Grandpa? Where's the present? And he says, well, and of course my daughter's looking at me. Well, you really put your foot in that. So I had to go out and buy him a bike or something to keep him happy. And anyway, but I bought him his own domain.
Your toys.
Yeah. So I bought him. So I pay for it each year. And I think it's $17 a year. And he has his own domain name. Maybe after I'm dead and he's 20 years old and he has his own .com name. Now he'll appreciate it, what Grandpa did for him, right?
Yeah, I wanted a .com, but some guy in Toronto stole it from me before I got a chance to get it. So I had to go with .net. And so that's been a challenge over the years, is telling people it's .net, not .com.
We had bbc.org for a long time, right? And we tried to see if the British Broadcasting Corporation wanted it. And we said, it's going to cost us quite a bit, because we used to hand out email addresses to our members that ended in bbc.org. And we said, well, it's going to cost us quite a bit to actually move all these people off to other stuff and blah, blah, blah. No, bbc.org is still ours.
Carl, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple of comments. One is on Steve asked about DisplayPort and HDMI. My recollection, DisplayPort, the advantage was that you could daisy chain a whole bunch of monitors together, where at HDMI, you had to use a hub. And as far as the throughput and so forth, I think they're both comparable, 2.1 versus DisplayPort 2.0, which I don't think anybody has any connectors out there for it. But the other thing I wanted to bring up before I go is my son came over with a router by trying to think of the, it's not T-Mobile, who's it? Verizon, and it does 300 megabits down. It's portable. You just plugged it anywhere, and it connects to the Verizon cellular network. He takes it out to his boat out at Mac and Ray's on Lake St. Clair. He's pulling 300 megahertz down. He's not connected to anything. In his opinion, it's going to be a game changer for all internet connections. Why have a ISP when the cellular networks are going to give you, and it comes with Wi-Fi, 6. So it's.
Yeah, but but Carl, what we're really talking about is 5G, right?
Yeah, if 5G, exactly, on the cellular 5G, right?
Yeah, that's what we're really talking about. And as I've said before, I mean, 5G should be starting at 5, the short wave, the millimeter wave can start at 5 gigahertz, 5 gigabit down, right? Like we're talking about massive speeds here with you're right. This is the future.
Yeah, he's like me. I have 100 megabit at home with AT&T, and he has 100 megabit Verizon at home, over the cable. And but he's pulling 300 meg down on his router on his boat, and he just plugged it into an inverter on his boat, and he's got 300 megahertz right there.
Right. We have got to get ready to start, so we're going to be starting pretty darn soon here. So we'll get ready. Indeed, Carl, that will, that's for sure. Everybody went quiet. We've got 2 minutes.
It's not the speed, it's the amount of gigabytes that you're allowed to.
Got a minute.
Yeah, got a minute.
And I got
All right.
Verizon putting up a tower right across from where I am. That should solve my problems.
Yeah, when is that going to be done?
I don't know.
All right, we got to get going here. Let's get the show started. Gonna mute everybody, and we will get on with it.
Maybe we could get Dewey to do an overview on this Verizon router that works over their cellular network.
We'll see. Tech for Senior, episode 109. It is April the 25th, almost May. Hey, we're moving on. It's April the 25th, and we have 77 people in the audience today. Welcome. We have a bunch of people over on our YouTube feed as well. As you know, the show is broadcast not only on our Zoom meeting, but it's broadcast over to YouTube. I want to thank everyone for coming. Again, as I say each week, it is your enthusiasm that keeps us going, and we've been working hard for some great videos today. It's going to be a great show. We have a really big show for you today, and I think you'll enjoy it. We of course have not just this show. We do also Tech for Senior Live, which is on Thursdays now, and the broadcasting of it is actually exceeding our Monday show. So it is extremely popular now, and it's doing very well. So if you haven't come over and watched this, it's not a Zoom meeting. It is indeed we broadcast it through StreamYard, and it goes out to YouTube and Facebook. We also have a podcast. So if you want to listen to the Thursday show, we podcast it as well. For those of you who are over on the YouTube side, we will be ending the show in about 50 minutes. And just before Ray's music segment, if you want to pop over here and listen and join us for the Q&A after that, that certainly will be would be happy to have you over here. The premiere service today that we have, which also is really doing well. We had over 90 people watch it last week. This week on the premiere service, which will be at 1:30, Dewey's going to talk about printers for hot weather. And indeed, we do have some hot weather coming. So we'll learn all about it. Dewey did that last year. We have Hewie, Hewey, IE. I got it wrong in the Hewie said you got it wrong in the newsletter. I apologize profusely. Anyway, he's going to do his Windows 10 tips and tricks part 2. He did part 1 last week, and I'm going to talk. I did this a year ago on the new Kindle Fire tablet with Office 365, and Well, it's a year old. I thought it was still pretty pertinent because it's a very popular video. It gets a lot of hits, a lot of people interested in the Office 365 feature on a Kindle. Hey, what's that all about? So learn all about that today on our Premier service. I'll put the link in the chat in just a moment. Well, let me introduce everyone. But before I introduce everyone, I want to tell you that I had a big excitement this week. I went. George will probably George Bowen will understand this. We were just talking about this. I was down at my cable company store, Shaw, and walked in the store and saw a big sign up. 1.5 gigabit connection now available. So I said, I got to get that because Hewie's only got 1 gigabit. I got to be faster. So anyway, so I said to the fellow, how much? And I said, doesn't really matter. It's priceless. I got to get faster than Hewie, right? So so the fella says, let me look at your account. He said, gee, you've got pretty much everything now. So he does the $10 a month. So I said, it sold. So I now have through cable 1.5 gigabit coming into the house. They provide a seat belt and a helmet for you as well. So when you're using it, you don't fall off the chair. So anyway, I now have 1.5 gigabit. Now, the reason that I'm mentioning this, not just to brag, but of course I'm doing that, but also is the fact that keep talking to your providers. The world is changing so fast, and the speeds are increasing so fast that you keep talking, because 5G is, a lot of time your options for 5G are there, and it's just going to get better and better and better. So keep asking. All right, now let me introduce everybody. You all know my favorite partner here. Even though I can't spell his name right after 3 years, I have Hewie Poplock, Hewie, right, Hewie?
Yep. Short for Hewitt.
Right. We have a busy week, eh?
I've had this past week I've been buying my toys just I'm overdoing it. I joined the watch group now, and I now have a Galaxy.
Never wear a watch.
I have now a Galaxy 4 watch because I bought a new phone and it's too big to wear on my wrist. I bought the Galaxy S22 Ultra. That thing is huge.
Right.
And so I've been watching videos for both of those over the last 2 weeks. YouTube is a great place to learn all of the settings on whatever device you buy. I've just been watching video after video, and with my phone there, stopping and starting the video and going in and changing settings and so on. It's been a lot of fun.
Now we also have learning. Excuse me. We also have learning Chromebooks this week, eh?
Yep, yeah, and there's some new things in that. So I'm working on a presentation for that, and the first reminder will go out today, and there'll be another one on Wednesday.
Just so everyone remembers, if you have signed up before, you don't have to re-sign up. But if you are new, you want to learn more about Chromebooks, you want to come to our session on Thursday, it's free, but you do have to sign up. We need to know your email address, and we'll send you the link. So if you just go over to our website, www.techforsenior.com, the sign-up's right there. There's a sign-up in the newsletter. So you can just sign up, and we'll be doing that on Thursday morning right after Tech for Senior Live.
And I was at where they had a home show, and my provider for my internet was there, and they're now advertising 2 gigabit service. So I did talk to them about it, but it was a little more pricey than I wanted.
Don't you do that. Don't you get 2 gigabit. Don't you do that. All right.
But like you, I think some of the equipment is going to, even if you get 1.5 or 2 gigabit service, I think you're going to be limited to 1 gigabit.
We'll see. We talked about that before. Bob, go ahead. How the heck are you doing?
I'm fine. Just listening to you guys trying to outdo what I have. 40 down and 6 up.
I'm hoping they're going to get that darn tower built pretty good.
They put that tower up. We'll see what Comcast can do for me. And if they can't, Verizon certainly will.
All right. And then, of course, Dewey's doing his big talk today on electric cars, and he's going to enlighten me on the difference between Polestar and Rivian, because apparently I don't know the difference, right?
Well, you had a little trouble with that. Whoops. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry I had my camera off, didn't realize it. Well, anyway, yes, we did this wonderful test drive out in these parts of Colorado where we were 2.5 weeks ago, and it was on roads like you see behind me. This is just south of Boulder.
Yeah, I'm looking for. Hewie has a nice talk on that today, so we'll be anxiously waiting. And Hewie, I'm all ears to learn. All right, thanks. And Ray.
Hey, Ron, before you mentioned that seniors don't like change. But I think that I don't 100% agree with that. I think everybody likes change as long as it happens to somebody else.
True. That's true. And Bill, James, you're sitting there with a big smile on your face. It looks like you've just made a cup of coffee with that fancy schmancy coffee maker you've got.
Well, I went to start it and I thought, oh, I got to get back to my to the show. So I'm waiting for my coffee. But
will it deliver
like
it to you? Will it deliver it to you?
Pardon?
Will it deliver it?
That hasn't happened yet. But I like change. I think it's important for us to embrace change because it keeps us young.
It does.
You always have a challenge before you, and I think you really benefit from it. I mean, change is hard and it's awkward at times, but then again, you always come out ahead because you, as Chris says, you always want to learn something.
Exactly.
I totally agree with her.
Okay. And Bob's probably saying, Ron, would you be quiet? I want to get on with the show and get my security section going here, right, Bob?
I want to see whether or not
you
I
can
got
mute me.
taught something yesterday. So let's see what happens.
All right, good. Take it away, Bob.
Here is the Avast Security News Roundup for the week ending April 22nd, 2022. Jekyll Bot. 5 vulnerabilities threaten hospital robots. Researchers at healthcare IoT security firm Scenario discovered a collection of 5 vulnerabilities impacting TUG autonomous mobile robots, collectively named Jekyll Bot 5. That could be exploited by remote attackers and hack the devices. The issue involved 3 exposed communications interfaces, 1 exposed web-based API, and 1 exposed WebSocket interface. If hackers were to exploit these vulnerabilities, they could assume full control of the robots, which are deployed and haul food, medication, lab specimens, and other supplies across facilities. Healthcare organizations, and in particular hospitals, have been one of the preferred victims of ransomware attacks during the last few years, commented Avast security evangelist Louis Carones. One of the reasons for this is that they use a lot of different equipment, which makes the attack surface much larger than in other sectors. These new vulnerabilities show, in fact, that there is a need for more security audits to close those holes that make hospitals vulnerable to cyber attack. For more on this story, see CSO Online. Video conference app mute buttons may not really be muting. A new study conducted by researchers at University of Wisconsin-Madison and Loyola University in Chicago found that the mute button on popular video conferencing apps does not prevent audio from being transmitted to the app's servers. Apps tested included Zoom, Slack, MS Teams, Skype, Google Meet, Cisco WebEx, and Discord. All apps continued to occasionally collect audio data, no matter the mute button status, except for those web clients that use the browser software mute feature. Zoom was found to actively track if the user is talking, even while they are in mute mode. For more on this story, see Bleeping Computer. So what can you do? First, read the privacy policy to understand better how your data is managed and what risks are involved in using a particular software product. Secondly, if your microphone is connected to your computer via a USB or jack cable, you may as well unplug it when muted. Thirdly, you can use the operating system's audio control settings to mute your microphone's input channel so that any apps will receive zero volume audio. Attackers use flash loan to steal $182 million. Earlier this week, a decentralized finance project called Beanstalk Farms, which puts out the cryptocurrency token known as the Bean, was targeted by an attacker who drained the project of $182 million in less than 13 seconds. The attacker first took out a flash loan from another entity, then used the money to buy 67% governance in Beanstalk Farms. Then, processing the majority share, the attacker was able to approve a transfer of $182 million in cryptocurrency to their own wallet. Experts believe that after paying back the flash loan, the attacker walked away with around $80 million in profit. For more, see The Verge. Over 100 Lenovo models vulnerable to malicious firmware. Lenovo has released patches for over 100 laptop models to fix 3 critical vulnerabilities that would make it possible for hackers to install malicious firmware. The flaw given hackers the ability to modify a computer's Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, UEFI, software that resides in a flash chip on the motherboard and acts as a bridge between the firmware and the operating system. To execute the steps necessary to exploit these vulnerabilities, however, attackers need to have local access to the laptops. About 1 million laptops are at risk. To learn more, see Ars Technica. 2021 set a record high for zero-day exploits. According to Google Project Zero, 2021 was a record-breaking year for zero-day exploits. Researchers in the group say they tracked 58 cases of zero-day exploits in the wild through the year. The previous maximum had been 28, which was from 2015. According to one researcher, the increased number is likely due to the increased detection and disclosure of zero-day exploits, rather than the increased usage of them. Zero-day exploits are instances where attackers target a newly discovered vulnerability that the developers have had 0 days to patch. See Cyberscoop for more. This week's must-read on the Avast blog. Tech support scammers specifically target older people because they believe them to be more trusting, hope they might have memory problems, and they tend to be more financially secure than younger people. Here's what you and your older loved ones should know to stay safe. Read the article at the link listed or watch my video on this topic at the following link. And that wraps up this week's Avast Security News Roundup. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and get involved.
$182 million in 13 seconds. That's a heck of a job, Bob.
I want to try that next week and see how well I do trying it.
Yeah, I could maybe do 2 seconds. I mean, I don't even have to work 13 seconds. Anyway.
Pretty good pay, Pat. Pretty good pay for an hour's. Oh, an hour's? No, the seconds work.
Yeah, seconds work would just be fine. Well done, Bob. Good stuff. We'll see you. We'll be hearing your second part in just a second. All right, let's find out about electric cars. Let's see what Dewey has to say.
Good morning, friends. I'm Dewey, and my Tech Talk topic today is electrical vehicles and our Polestar 2 test drive. When I ended last week's Tech Talk, I said that this week I'd be talking about electric vehicles. I intended to begin today by telling you about the big New York International Auto Show, which ended yesterday April 24th. After a 2-year hiatus due to the pandemic, the show returned on April 15 for a 10-day run. The hype, especially about the display of EVs from all over the world, was humongous. I was pretty excited about the show until I read a revealing article at driving.ca Auto News, which let it be known that only a relatively small fraction of the world's car makers displayed their vehicles at the show this year. I guess they decided that manufacturers would rather spend their money on displays of just their vehicles in big introductions. So I'm going to change gears, and I'll start with breaking news about the latest electric vehicles. One of the most prolific writers on EVs is Corey Gunther at ReviewGeek.com. In an article titled Chevy Bolt Production Resumes After Long Fire Safety Recall, Gunther said that GM finally restarted production of the Chevy Bolt EUV, an electric utility vehicle, in the first week of April. Production of the Chevy Bolt is expected to continue at GM's Orion assembly plant in Michigan until sometime in 2023, when production will be shifted to the 2024 Silverado EV and GMC Sierra EV pickup trucks. It's worth noting that some GM dealers likely have several new Bolt EV or EUV models on their lot that GM prevented them from selling until they were retrofitted with the new battery system from LG Chem. Now that production is underway and GM's stop sale order is expiring, those interested in an affordable EV with a brand new battery might consider a newer used Bolt EV. And I'll tell you, they are a very good deal. Or Corey Gunther feels buyers may want to wait for the new 2024 Chevy Equinox electric vehicle, which is more attractive than the Bolt, he says. Well, there's a photo of it. I wish I should have put in a photo for comparison with the Bolt, but they're both good-looking cars. NationWorldNews.com recently reported that U.S. EV auto sales shined in Q1 of 2022 and could be heralding the arrival of a battery electric vehicle era sooner than expected. In fact, the only brands to post sales gains in Q1 were all electric. Tesla and Polestar reported a particularly sharp increase in first quarter sales in the U.S. compared to the same period last year. Also, Hyundai posted particularly solid results, selling 6,244 Ioniq 5 EVs, and Kia sold 5,281 units of its new EV6 model. U.S. sales of Tesla rose 87.2% to nearly 130,000 units compared to the same quarter last year, and Tesla's global sales broke a new record as well. Polestar sales grew by nearly 1,200% during the first quarter due to the arrival of the Polestar 2 luxury sedan, that's the one we drove, which is a Tesla 3 LR competitor, price-wise and otherwise. Even though EV volume sales are still low, the overall trend indicates a drastic change in consumer demand. For what it's worth, according to Autodata, Lucid and Rivian delivered 460 and 720 EVs respectively during 2022's first quarter. I guess they've got quite a ways to go, don't they? The nameplate Polestar isn't yet well known in the US. It was established in 1996 by Swedish automaker Volvo's partner, Flash Polestar Racing, and it was acquired by Volvo in 2015. By the way, Volvo had already been acquired by Chinese automaker Geely back in 2010. They're designed in Sweden, but made in China. Polestar's headquarters are near Gothenburg, Sweden, and vehicle production is done in China. Polestar's logo is shown at the right. I had mentioned recently that Joanne and I drove a Polestar 2 EV when we visited our son Steve and his wife Sue's home in Superior, Colorado 2.5 weeks ago. Superior is just south of Boulder and That's all north of, about 25 miles north of Denver. Steve has a Polestar 2 on order and was comfortable in asking the local Polestar rep to bring one by their house for both Joanne and me to test drive. And there's the car when it pulled in. The very pleasant rep took time to introduce us to the Polestar 2. The car was very well equipped with all three of Polestar's optional packages. A, the performance package, $5,000. B, the plus package, $4,000. And C, the pilot package, $3,200. This brought the sticker price just over $62,000, still competitive with Tesla. The performance pack is tuned for Polestar 2's long-range dual motor, has specialized handling upgrades, premium brakes, 20-inch forged alloy wheels, Swedish gold seat belts, and they were something else, and dual flow valve dampers with 22 suspension settings. I guess that's enough, isn't it? The $4,000 Plus pack provides a premium comfort level, which includes a Harman Kardon premium sound system, a full-length panoramic glass roof, which you can see at the lower left in the upper part of the picture. It has leather galore, beautiful leather. It has heated steering wheel and heated seats, a heat pump climate system, and other features that, in Volvo's words, elevate the driving experience. The $3,200 pilot pack focuses on smarter and safer driving. It includes pilot assist, which supplements adaptive cruise control, and it has cameras and radar that control speed and helps maintain car position in the driving lane, LED front fog lights with cornering function, automatically dim door mirrors, and a 360-degree camera system that allows the driver to see a bird's eye view of the Polestar 2's surroundings. To achieve this, 4 cameras provide a 360-degree view around a virtual image of the car, helping the driver to maneuver in tight spaces. Now, the photograph at lower right gives you something of an idea, but it's really not very good. I had to do a quick turnaround in a very tight parking lot, and the rep reached over and tapped something, and all of a sudden I'm looking at this screen and I'm seeing my car from 30 feet above. Cannot believe how that was achieved. It was astonishing. And it was very easy watching that screen to maneuver around and turn around and get out of the parking lot. The Polestar 2 has 2 driving modes. First, a standard accelerator and brake pedals, or a single pedal mode in which foot down accelerates and heel down activates braking, including regenerative engine braking. We both chose the single pedal mode for our test drives. Joanne and I both had 20-minute test drives and were surprised at how quickly we adapted to the single pedal mode. The heel down engine braking was absolutely amazing, and we both felt quite comfortable with the Polestar 2 by the time our test drives had finished. And that photo at the lower right is my sweetie Joanne piloting the Polestar 2 down this road. Finally, during this visit to our son and daughter-in-law's house, they were eager to point out that an owl had nested in a recess on an upper ledge of a neighbor's house, perhaps 150 feet away. I grabbed my Samsung S21 and zoomed in to get the best shot I could of this stoic owl, and I probably didn't do a good job because the camera can do better than that. A few days ago, they sent me an updated photo of the owl, and they took with the Samsung S21. It's now a mama owl with her 2 young fledges. Aren't they the cutest things? Well, anyway, that's my Tech Talk story for today, and I'm sticking with this one because I really enjoyed doing it, and I had such fun on that Polestar 2 test drive. Please stay safe. Thanks for watching, and the good Lord willing, we'll see you again next week.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Learned a lot. That's great. Bob, you're ready to roll?
I certainly hope so. Tech support scammers target older people because they believe them to be more trusting and they tend to be more financially secure than younger people. When Phyllis Weisberg, 90, received a phone call claiming that there was an issue with her computer, she knew she had to do something right away. The person on the other end told her that they could help her, but it would be for a fee. Phyllis, a widow, trusted the young person on the other end of the line, and she went right to her bank to arrange a wire. They warned me not to discuss the issue on the telephone with anyone because these bad guys could hear all my conversations, Phyllis says. They sent me an address and asked me to send a wire with money. I went to the branch closer to home. A very young fellow asked me the questions the scammers told me he would ask, and I responded in the way they asked me to. I had all the answers programmed for me. Unfortunately, the people calling were not there to help. They were thieves conducting a tech support scam, which is when a scammer calls, messages, emails, or uses pop-ups to convince someone that there's an issue with their device. Through the wire and other tactics, they gained access to Phyllis's bank account and stole $20,000. The scammers used high-pressure scare tactics to gain remote access to victims' computers, or, as was the case with Phyllis, to get them to send large amounts of cash. They usually pose as someone from a recognized, reputable organization, like a bank, hospital, or software company. We've even had reports of scammers posing as Avast in order to create an immediate layer of trust with potential victims. My first reaction was total embarrassment that I would do anything that stupid, Phyllis says. It took me quite a while to realize I wasn't the only one who was being taken advantage of. All I can do now is warn others and just hope that this will at least help one other person avoid going through this. And Phyllis is not alone. A 2021 survey conducted by Avast in partnership with YouGov found that 82% of people over the age of 65 in the U.S. have received a phone call from someone who was trying to scam them. We also observed a 251% increase in consumer attacks from January 2021 to December of the same year. And according to the FBI, 66% of the victims of tech support scams in 2020 were over 60 years of age, and the total loss of money amounted to over $116 million. Tech support scammers specifically target older people because they believe them to be more trusting, hope they might have memory problems, and they tend to be more financially secure than younger people. They are professionals whose entire job is scamming and stealing money from people like Phyllis. Luckily, there are ways to protect yourself and your loved ones against this kind of scam, and you've already taken the first step by reading this. You should also know that no legitimate tech support will ever contact you without you contacting them first. If someone does, hang up immediately and call someone you trust right away. People Phyllis's and my age need to unlearn what we were taught as children. It's no longer safe to trust everyone that sounds genuine and believable. Trust but verify must become our new motto. If you've already given them, the scammers, access to your devices or your bank account, call your financial institution immediately. Let them know what happened and see if it's possible to block any outgoing payments or wires. Then call a legitimate company to make sure that your device doesn't have any viruses or lingering software placed there by the scammers. The best way to ensure that a company is legitimate is to get contact information from someone in your life that you trust, or to navigate to a website on your own. Do not call any number or click any links sent to you by someone you don't know, even if you recognize the name of the organization they claim to be from. Again, trust but verify. Read Emma McGowan's excellent article by following the link below. Avast has teamed up with the National Council on Aging in order to help you protect yourself and your loved ones from tech support and other scams. Head over to their Avoiding Scams for Older Adults page and watch the video linked below for more information. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bob. Good advice. Good advice. All right, let's moving on. Hewie, I have a video for you. I'm going to play now, and it's about your new watch. You can watch this, okay?
Great.
And let's see what we've got here. As you get older, it is important to monitor your pulse. The incidence of cardiac pacemaker insertion goes up exponentially with age. Let's have a look at the graph. As you can see in the graph, at age 60, the line goes up exponentially. So by the time you are 80, the chances are pretty darn good you probably are going to need a cardiac pacemaker. Now, while a cardiac pacemaker is required for a slow heartbeat, a rapid heartbeat can be atrial fibrillation. Let's look at the incidence of atrial fibrillation. If you are over the age of 60, the chances of atrial fibrillation is going to go up exponentially. The same as a slow heartbeat, a fast heartbeat is the same problem. One of the major causes of a fast heartbeat is atrial fibrillation, and it is the 5th leading cause of stroke. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. I am a senior and a retired physician. I make videos about your health. Today I want to talk about stroke prevention using a smartwatch. Let's have a look at this, but before we do, you remember the like and subscribe. If you want to be kept up to date on future videos about your health, just click the subscribe button at the bottom and then turn on the notification. If you do that, we'll notify you when new videos come out. So for full disclosure, I purchased a Fitbit Sense watch and a Galaxy Watch 4 with my hard-earned retired money. The opinions in this video are mine alone and not supported by any commercial product. I've made over 10 videos about smartwatches and your health, including a very popular series, Saving Your Life with Wearable Technology. I will put the link to those videos in the description below, so if you want to watch them, just click the link. And remember, if you want to be notified, click the subscribe and notification buttons. Now, the symptoms of atrial fibrillation can be a bit of a fluttering in your chest or some palpitations, but also you may be asymptomatic. What do we mean by that? Well, you don't know you have it. And that is one of the big problems with atrial fibrillation and stroke, is that oftentimes when you come in with a stroke, you don't know you've had atrial fibrillation. Now, all the watches work exactly the same way. You require a watch, you require a phone, and the two have to be paired together. When you start to feel symptoms, then you are going to activate a feature on the watch called the ECG app. Now, this app works exactly the same on all 3 watches. You will activate it. It will then do what we call an ECG, which is a heart test. Now, the secret sauce is that the watch will actually interpret the ECG and tell you if you have atrial fibrillation. It does not tell you if you're having a heart attack. It does not tell you if your heart is healthy. The only purpose of the ECG app is to tell you if you have atrial fibrillation or you do not. All three watches work exactly the same way and have been approved for this by the FDA in the United States. So the three watches that have been approved by the FDA to detect atrial fibrillation are the Apple Watch, the Fitbit Sense, and the Galaxy Watch 4. I own the Fitbit Sense and the Galaxy Watch 4. Now, I've told you in the previous slide that they work exactly the same way. You have symptoms of atrial fibrillation, you activate the ECG app, and it says you do or do not have atrial fibrillation. So although they work exactly the same way, there are some unique features with each watch, which I am going to explain now. So the ECG app on the Apple Watch has been available since Series 4. Series 4 to 7 has the ECG app and atrial fibrillation detection. Now, the ECG app has been approved by the FDA in the United States and by Health Canada. As you know, the Apple Watch is sold globally. Apple does a very good job of getting the ECG app approved in each country it's licensed to use this in. Good job, Apple. Now, unlike the Apple Watch, which must be paired to an iPhone for it to work, it only works on the Apple system, the Fitbit Sense can be used either on Android or iOS. So if you do have an iPhone, you can use a Fitbit Sense with it, and the ECG feature will work. So it works on both the Android and iOS. Now, the ECG app has been approved in Canada and the United States, so you're able to do atrial fibrillation detection. As you know, this watch is sold globally, and generally there's been slow approval processes in getting this ECG app up and going. You'll find large markets like India, where it was sold into, still don't have this app approved and working. Now, I'm going to tell you about a new feature that's coming, so stay tuned to the end of the video. The Galaxy Watch 4, of course, is made by Samsung. Most of the non-cardiac features will work with all Android phones. However, the ECG app, which also includes blood pressure, will only work with Samsung phones. The ECG app was approved about 3 months after the Samsung Galaxy 4 watch was introduced in the United States, but it took 8 months before it was finally approved in Canada. There is definitely a slow approval of this ECG app as this watch is sold globally. Now, the ECG app requires regulatory approval in each country. In other words, the manufacturers of these devices have to submit data to the regulatory bodies, and they have to approve the information. And this is to make sure that these devices actually do what they claim to be able to do. Now, in the United States, the FDA has approved the Apple Watch, the Fitbit Sense, and the Galaxy 4 watch to be able to diagnose atrial fibrillation. These have been approved as level 2 medical devices, such as an ECG in a hospital. So you know if you purchase them, yes, they are going to work. But these watches are sold globally. So each country has the regulatory approval, and they must be approved in each country before the app is turned on. So it is so important, if you are considering purchasing this watch, that you make sure the app is available in the country that you're going to be using it in. Now, in my case, I bought a Fitbit Sense watch when it first came out. It wasn't until a year later that Health Canada actually approved the app. And with the Galaxy Watch 4 I purchased, it was 8 months before the approval process was completed in Canada. In fact, it was just last week. So if you have a Galaxy Watch 4, you are in Canada, yes, the app has been approved now, and you can use the ECG and blood pressure app on your Galaxy Watch 4 in Canada. A concern I have is that Google and Samsung are very slow in getting the approval process done. And in my case, I was a registered owner of both these watches and I never got a notification or email when the approval process was done in Canada. I get lots of marketing wanting to sell me other stuff, but I never got an email saying that there was an approval process done. There's no place to get information. You can't go to their website. They don't have any pages that say, yes, these are the countries it's being approved on. This is the status. This is how long we're waiting. Nope, nothing like that at all. And the only way that you really have been able to get information about this is in the community forums on those sites. So please be cautious about this, because if the ECG app is not approved, it may be a very long time, even though the watch is sold in that country. So I've told you all these 3 watches work exactly the same. You develop some palpitations or a fluttering in your chest. You then do the ECG on your watch. Then it identifies whether you have or have not got atrial fibrillation. The problem is that many patients don't know they have atrial fibrillation, so they would never activate the ECG feature. The big news that has occurred in this past month is that Fitbit now has been approved by the FDA to passively monitor your heart. And this is not just probably going to be on the Fitbit Sense, but many of the Fitbit product line. This is an app that will work 24/7, your heartbeat, and tell you if you have, but other potentially serious, what we call arrhythmias of your heart. This is indeed exciting news, and I'm going to have a lot more to say about this when the app is released. So lots of interesting news. We have a new app coming out from Fitbit, and also a new Pixel watch coming out, which may have some new health features as well. If you are concerned about your health and want to learn more about how upcoming technology can help you, then click the subscribe and notification below, and we'll let you know as new videos come out. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. Have a great day. All right, Hewie.
Yes, and I'm having fun with my Galaxy 4 trying to figure it all out. So
There you go. Get the ECG app going.
Yeah. Okay, so we need to do this. We need to do this. Browser cookies. I'm Hewie Poplock. Cookies. As an avid internet surfer, you've most likely heard of cookies. No, we're not talking about the ones filled with chocolate chips. We're talking about the ones that allow you to log into your favorite websites. Cookies may impact your online security, so check out these tips to manage them and keep your online accounts safe. What are cookies in browsers? Ever wonder how a website saves the items you placed in your shopping cart last week, even though you closed the tab before making the purchase? This is made possible by cookies. According to the Federal Trade Commission, a cookie is information saved by your web browser. When you visit a website, the site may place a cookie on your web browser so it can recognize your device in the future. If you return to that site later, it can read that cookie to remember you from your last visit, keeping track of your activities over time. Cookies come in either the first-party or third-party variety. There's no difference between the two in how they function, but rather in where and how you encountered them. First-party cookies belong to sites you visited firsthand in your browser. Third-party cookies, or tracking cookies, generally come from third-party advertising websites. Although cookies generally function the same, there are technically 2 different types of cookies. Magic cookies refer to packets of information that are sent and received without changes. Historically, this would be used to log into a computer database system, such as an internal business network. This concept predates the modern cookie we use today. HTTP cookies are a repurposed version of the magic cookie, built for internet browsing and managing online experiences. HTTP cookies help web developers give you more personalized, convenient website experiences. They allow sites to remember you, your website logins, and shopping carts, so you can pick back up where you left off from your last visit. However, cyber criminals can manipulate HTTP cookies to spy on your online activity and steal your personal information. Cookie hijacking, also known as session hijacking, is typically initiated when a cyber criminal sends you a fake login page. If you click on the fake link, the thief can steal the cookie and capture anything you type while on the fraudulent website. Like a phishing attack, cookie hijacking allows a cyber criminal to steal personal information like usernames, passwords, and other important data held within the cookie. If you enter your information while on the fake website, the criminal can then put that cookie in their browser and impersonate you online. They may even change your credentials, locking you out of your account. Sometimes criminals initiate cookie hijacking attacks without a fake link. If you're browsing on an unsecured public Wi-Fi connection, hackers can easily steal your data that's traveling through the connection. This can happen even if the site is secure and your username and password are encrypted. Because the data in cookies doesn't change, cookies themselves aren't harmful. They can't infect computers with viruses or malware. But if your cookies are hijacked as part of a cyber attack, a criminal could gain access to your browsing history and use cookies as the key to enter your locked accounts. For example, a hacker may steal your identity or confidential company information, purchase items in your online shopping carts, or loot your bank account. Preventing cookie hijacking attacks can allow you to browse the internet with greater peace of mind. Follow these tips to not only safeguard your personal information, but to also enhance your browsing experience. Make it a habit to clear your cookie cache regularly to prevent cookie overload, which could slow your search speeds. Also, almost every browser has the option to enable or disable cookies on your computer. So if you don't want them at all, your browser support section can walk you through on how to disable them. Although it's convenient to not have to retype your credentials into a website you frequently visit, autofill features could make it easier for a criminal to extract your data with cookie hijacking. Plus, autofill is risky if your physical device falls into the wrong hands. To browse more securely without having constantly re-enter your passwords, use a password manager. Strong, unique passwords for each of your accounts, updated regularly, offer ample protection against hackers. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, adds yet another layer of security by double-checking your identity beyond your username and password, usually with a texted or email code. When your account offers MFA, always opt in. Criminals can hijack your cookies if you're browsing on an unsecured public Wi-Fi connection. To prevent a criminal from swiping your data, use a virtual private network, or VPN, a service that protects your data and privacy online. A VPN creates an encrypted tunnel that makes you anonymous by masking your IP address while connecting to public Wi-Fi hotspots. This is a great way to shield your information from online spies while you're banking, shopping, or handling any kind of sensitive information online. Use antivirus software, allowing you to keep your online passwords, which are often stored in cookies, in one secure location. Warning you of suspicious links, keeping potentially harmful cookies off your device, protecting you against viruses and malware, and blocking spam and emails that could lead to sites containing dangerous cookies. Let's look at some of my cookies. First, we have to find them. In order to do that on my Windows machine, first you click the three dots or parallel bars menu button. 2, choose the Settings option. Scroll down to Privacy and Security section. Click on Cookies and Other Site Data, then followed by See All Cookies and Site Data. You will be shown a list of all websites which have stored cookies on your computer. I don't clear out my cookies very often. In fact, I have over 4,200 listed when I did this. But you go to Privacy and Security and then All Cookies and Site Data. Notice where my scroll bar is at the top. We scroll down and we're still only a small way down. Notice there are different items listed in my cookies. There's a cookie, there's cache storage, service workers, file system, local storage, database storage, local service, and service workers. So there's different types of cookies that are stored on your system. Let's take a look at one of the items in my cookies. Let's look at northerntool.com. It's showing 25 cookies there. And when I click on that, it'll list several of them. Obviously, not all of them are on the screen here, but as I click on one of them, this is the information I get. I did gray out a portion because I am not sure what that content would be if someone tried to copy it and do something with it. So I did cover up some of it. But you'll notice some of the information that it stores in my cookie for that particular item. Let's take another one. Online.inpixio.com. It's local storage. When I look at it, it doesn't have nearly the amount of information. It just has the local storage, the origin, where it came from, the size on my disk, and then when it was last modified. And then finally, one of the things that you need to do to protect yourself is keep your operating system and browser updated. Browser cookies. I'm Hewie Poplock.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Interesting information. Ray, just before we get going with your segment, I want to just thank everyone for coming over on our YouTube feed. We're going to be ending that now. If you want to come over, we have lots of room in our in the show if you want to come over and participate in the Q&A. If you have to leave, then we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. All right, Ray.